Wow, Lulu, I think you getting into AI is cool, but robotics, isn't that just a little too far?
Time to buy, Lulu.
Are you sure it's safe?
Of course it is, Guru.
Evening, Garage Gang. It's me, your man with the plan. This Monday, January 19th, Martin Luther King Day, and instead of firing up the grill, instead of family barbecues and long weekends, we've been glued to the screens. Because while Wall Street is technically resting, the world is wide open. Crypto never sleeps. Futures are twitching, and the global engine is idling rough like a V12 running on bad fuel. Headlines didn't slow down today. They stacked up. Treasury officials reminding everyone that Federal Reserve independence does not mean no oversight. Tariffs crawling back onto the board like a check engine light you swore was fixed 2 years ago. The UK flirting with recession again because trade wars never age well. And this is where reality officially breaks. Markets are out here placing real money odds on the United States acquiring Greenland. Not a joke, not satire, not a meme, actual capital betting on it. So stop for a second and really think about this. We're talking about a superpower negotiating the purchase of another country like we're walking a used car lot on a Sunday afternoon. Like Greenland is parked between a Camry and a lifted F-150 with a handwritten sign in the window, one owner, strategic location, needs work. What universe does that make sense in? This isn't Craigslist. This isn't kick the tires and see how it drives. This is geopolitics turning into a used car deal while markets shrug and keep trading candles. And that's the tell. When nations start talking like dealers and dealers start talking like nations, you're not in a stable system anymore. You're in a late cycle garage sale. Everything has a price. Nothing feels permanent. And confidence is being sold harder than fundamentals. Now listen, we have a lot to cover tonight, and this part matters. If you want the real breakdown, the levels, and the plays, do me a favor right now. Smash the like, hit the follow, and share this with your fellow Deegans. Because this market is not forgiving, and the people trading it blind are about to learn the hard way. All right, let's get back under the hood. Here's the reality nobody wants to accept. The easy money days are over. We are not in buy everything and ride mode anymore. We are in a liquidity pivot. The fuel line is getting pinched. Cash is being pulled out of circulation. Buffers are draining. And when buffers disappear, every bump hits harder. That's why headlines feel heavier. That's why moves feel faster. That's why liquidations spread like fire instead of stopping clean. And yes, we keep talking about the carry trade every night. Not because it sounds smart, not because we ran out of content, because this is how people actually get wrecked. For years, the trade was simple. Borrow cheap yen, convert to dollars, buy tech, buy stocks, buy crypto, free fuel, no friction, unlimited leverage. That trade didn't just lift markets, it held them up. And now that engine is starting to stall. Japan is tightening, rates are rising, and cheap funding is no longer guaranteed. Here's the part people don't respect. Carry trades don't unwind slowly, they don't give you time to think, they don't wait for confirmation, they unwind all at once. When the yen strengthens fast, every leveraged position tied to it feels like a margin call at the same time. That's when assets that shouldn't be correlated suddenly move together. Stocks down, crypto down, high beta down, everything running for the same door. That's not panic, that's mechanics. And now layer that onto what just happened. In the last 24 hours, the market erased nearly $864 million in liquidations. 90% of it was longs. That's not hedging, that's leaning. Over 240,000 traders wiped. That's what happens when you treat leverage like horsepower you can control. A Hellcat in the rain, bald tires, full throttle, and while that carnage was happening, serious money stepped in. Large inflows through regulated channels, supply quietly leaving exchanges. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because when supply leaves the showroom and price doesn't respond, that's not a bullish signal, that's a contradiction. In a healthy market, tightening supply pushes price higher. When supply disappears but price stays pinned, one of two things is happening. Either demand hasn't shown itself yet, or price is being intentionally held down while inventory changes hands. That's where people get trapped. They see accumulation and scream breakout. They ignore the fact that price isn't confirming anything. And the market never owes you confirmation on your timeline. It builds pressure first, and pressure always resolves, just not the way impatient traders expect, because this market doesn't move to reward conviction. It moves to punish impatience. And right now, everything feels like it's being wound tighter than it looks. That's where we stop. Because next we need to talk about What breaks first when this pressure releases? And what actually survives when the air pocket hits? And that's not a conversation you rush. Now let's talk about what actually breaks first, because when pressure finally releases, it doesn't hit everything evenly. Markets don't fail politely, they fail selectively. The first thing that snaps is fake liquidity. Anything that only exists because leverage props it up. Anything that needs constant inflows just to hold price. Anything where the bid disappears the moment sentiment shifts. Those don't pull back, they gap. That's where air pockets come from. No bids, no warning, just price teleporting lower until it finds someone who actually wants to own it. That's why these environments feel violent, not because everyone is panicking, but because there's nothing underneath the trade when pressure shows up. The second thing that breaks is correlation illusions. You hear it every cycle. This shouldn't be moving with that. This asset is different. This one is insulated. That only works when money is easy. When funding tightens and carry trades unwind, correlations don't ask permission. They collapse into one. Stocks, crypto, high beta, anything funded with the same cheap capital, they all head for the same exit. That's not fear, that's balance sheets getting repriced in real time. And this is where most people get hurt, not on the crash, but on the bounce. Because bounces in stressed markets are lies, short covering, dealer hedging, relief rallies. They feel like safety returning right before the next leg hits. That's how accounts bleed out slowly instead of blowing up once. Now here's the part people don't want to admit. Chop zones are more dangerous than crashes. Crashes end. Chop humiliates. It drains confidence. It pulls people back in. It convinces them this time is different. And right now, we are sitting in a market designed to humiliate impatience. Now zoom out one more layer. Because while this is happening in crypto, the rest of the financial system is moving in the same direction. Stocks are heading to blockchain rails, 24/7 trading, instant settlement, no off switch. No overnight pause, no cooling off period, no, we'll address this in the morning. Bad news hits at 2 a.m., price reacts at 2 a.m., thin liquidity, emotional reactions, algorithms trading algorithms while humans are asleep. That's a car with no brakes going downhill. Some companies will adapt. They'll build always-on risk desks, always-on comms, always-on AI monitoring. Others won't, and those are the ones that get exposed first, because when markets never close, weak stories don't get to hide overnight anymore. Now bring that right back to crypto. Look at XRP, supply is leaving exchanges, big wallets and small wallets accumulating, and yet price is still sitting there, not breaking down, not breaking out, just sitting. That's not confirmation, that's tension. And tension doesn't resolve gently, it resolves when the market decides who was early and who was just guessing. Now add the final accelerant, AI. AI doesn't sleep, AI doesn't wait for market hours, AI doesn't need a bell. Ads rolling into AI platforms means monetization is real. Agents writing million-line software means labor is changing fast. So now you've got 24/7 markets running on 24/7 machines, reacting to each other in real time. Humans can't keep up. That's how volatility compresses, and that's how it explodes. So this isn't about being bullish or bearish. It's about recognizing the phase. A phase where leverage breaks first, narratives get tested, and only real ownership survives the shake. Because the next move won't announce itself, it'll just happen. And the people who make it through aren't the ones with the loudest opinions. They're the ones who respected the mechanics before the impact. That's where we pause, because the next chapter is where we get very specific what to watch tomorrow morning, what confirms strength, and what tells you to get out of the way immediately. Don't blink. This is where we bring it home. Everything we talked about tonight, the carry trade pressure, the liquidity pinch, the XRP contradiction, the AI acceleration, the markets losing their off switch, it all points to the same truth. This is no longer a market you guess in. It's a market you respect. Speed is higher, forgiveness is lower, and mistakes get priced instantly. That's why the trenches matter. Not as a flex, not as a promise, as a reality check. The XXX trench picks you saw tonight didn't come from hype or hope. They came from sitting still, watching structure, and asking one question: does this thing survive when nothing happens? Because in this environment, survival is alpha. And let me be crystal clear before anyone misunderstands this. XXX is a professional. This is observation, not instruction. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. Playing in the trenches is no different than throwing chips on black here in Vegas. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. And there are no guarantees, no safety nets, no one to blame but yourself. If you decide to play, that's your decision, your risk, your responsibility. This isn't financial advice, it's market reality. So take what you saw tonight for what it is. A snapshot of a market under pressure, a system moving faster than humans, and a reminder that patience beats bravado every single time. The next move will come, it always does, but the people who make it through aren't the loudest. They're the ones who stayed liquid, stayed disciplined, and didn't force trades that weren't there. That's the game now. Engines warm, eyes open, let it rip. This is where we bring it home. Everything we talked about tonight, the carry trade pressure, the liquidity pinch, the XRP contradiction, the AI acceleration, the markets losing their off switch, it all points to the same truth. This is no longer a market you guess in. It's a market you respect. Speed is higher, forgiveness is lower, and mistakes get priced instantly. That's why the trenches matter. Not as a flex, not as a promise, as a reality check. The triple X trench picks you saw tonight didn't come from hype or hope. They came from sitting still, watching structure, and asking one question: does this thing survive when nothing happens? Because in this environment, survival is alpha. And let me be crystal clear before anyone misunderstands this. Triple X is a professional. This is observation, not instruction. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. Playing in the trenches is no different than throwing chips on black here in Vegas. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. And there are no guarantees, no safety nets, no one to blame but yourself. If you decide to play, that's your decision, your risk, your responsibility. This isn't financial advice, it's market reality. So take what you saw tonight for what it is. A snapshot of a market under pressure, a system moving faster than humans, and a reminder that patience beats bravado every single time. The next move will come, it always does, but the people who make it through aren't the loudest. They're the ones who stayed liquid, stayed disciplined, and didn't force trades that weren't there. That's the game now. Engines warm, eyes open, let it rip.